Trojan family, Trojan gang. Fight on forever us in a building. And today we finna talk about the Bear Alexander saga, drama, and news that rocked USC the other day. Right? So in this video, we about to go into the timeline of Bear Alexander in his high school and college career thus far. See, Bear Alexander is originally from Terrell, Texas, just east of Dallas. He had a tumultuous journey on his way, not normal, a hard upbringing and growing up. Now see, Bear Alexander in a 4-year high school career attended 5 different high schools. He attended Terrell, Dent Ryan, Fort Worth Brewer, IMG Academy, and Skyline, right? So with this latest chapter just involved with SC, Bear going into his new chapter, it's time to examine the whole Bear Alexander timeline. But before we get into that, can y'all please hit that like button? And can y'all please subscribe? It's been a lot of traffic coming through the channel, and y'all ain't hitting that sub button. So it's free, so please hit that sub button. And if you want to support content and get more content like this, hit the Cash App in the description to help your boy out. Now let's get into the story of Bear Alexander, right? Now Bear Alexander was just a few months old when his father, Keith, was arrested. Keith Alexander, Bear's father, already had 6 prior arrests. But this time in May 2004, the punishment was especially severe. Keith was sentenced to 30 years on felony drug charges, leaving a young son to navigate his life without a father. Even still, as the years passed, Keith kept a piece of his father close. That is Bear, right? Keithton is Bear. His father is Keith. He's Keithton. Around Terrell, Texas, east of Dallas, folks knew Keith by a different name, one that would be passed down to his son, who would give a certain sort of notoriety. One day, every major college coach in football would know the name Bear Alexander. At USC, his name came with a symbol of hope for a defense in desperate in need of some. But Bear meant something entirely different in Terrell, where he grew up. Out of respect for his father, who was granted early release in 2019, Keithton still carried the name proudly, never forgetting where he came from. But over the years, as Lil Bear bounced from high school to high school, emerging as the 300-pound blue chip behemoth his father once hoped to become, it would serve as a constant reminder of what he was outrunning. I just wanted to live his name in a different way, Bear Alexander recently said. Go out there and do it better than he did. There's a determination behind his thick Texas drawl, a sense of purpose that was present just a few years ago. Nothing was certain about Alexander's life then. Football wasn't a priority. Trouble seemed to lurk around every corner. I was just trying to escape, Bear said. Then he met Tony Jones and showed him the way of life. Their relationship sent Alexander down a different path, leading him out of Terrell, right? Eventually to Los Angeles. But before we get there, every step of the way, Jones has been there. Today, Alexander refers to him by a different name. We call him Dad. Tony Jones knew firsthand what it meant to be raised in an unstable home. His mom struggled with addiction, so he bounced around as a kid, right? Never quite feeling safe in his own surroundings. He often wondered how much better off he'll be with different parents. But as Jones grew, he resolved to give other kids what his parents could never give him. Right? So he became a local football coach and leader with Young Life, a Christian youth ministry, both who which put him around kids in need of mentorship. I always ended up with the badass kids, Jones said with a laugh. He figured he could understand them just like others couldn't. Heck, he was them. Jones was still 19 at the time, a college student barely establishing his own life. By 21, he realized some kids needed more than just a mentor. So if he offered up more of himself to the kids, to the local youth. He was like a pops to everybody. Periodically, kids who need a place to stay could always crash with Jones. He was that type of dude with the youth. A weekend here, a weekend there. It just turned into they wouldn't leave, so kids would come around and stay. So he was a lot of father figure to young men already as a young man, Mr. Tony Jones. Now, Bear was in the 8th grade when he first started coming around. He was a friend of Jones' nephews, and the reputation behind his name preceded him. He was mischievous, Jones said, like sneaky, doing bad things he didn't have no business doing, hanging out with older kids. You know how it be sometimes. But Jones understood his situation. Being the same type, coming from the same type of environment. Even saw a bit of himself in Bear. His home life was tenuous and unreliable. He didn't have much supervision or support. Living young, wild, and free. Jones worried about where Alexander's life was headed. He tried to give Alexander space to just be a kid, to take the pressure off his shoulders. His dad was a guy in that neighborhood, and people expected something out of him because of the reputation his dad had. And Jones understood that. See, he was from that walk himself. He understood what changed his life. That's just what I tried to provide to Bear. And I was just hoping it would be good enough, Jones said. Early into his freshman year at Terrell High, Alexander stopped bothering to go home. Jones, who worked at the school, Terrell High, got a call one day from the school counselor. Alexander was upset about an incident at home. He refused to speak to anyone but Coach Jones. He had been hustling, and he was hiding it from me. Right, Jones said. The money he pocketed has since been stolen by someone at home. Jones could tell Alexander had reached a breaking point and asked him whether he wanted to be a kid or an adult. He was crying, he was mad, he was pissed off. You know, he just wanted to be a kid and ain't got to worry about no financial struggles and this and that. Having to worry about this and that, stressing out as a youngster. From that day on, Alexander stayed with Jones full time. But it wasn't no easy transition. Jones was empathetic, but also firm. He offered structure and supervision that Alexander never had before. There were rules and expectations, but there was also unconditional love for Bear. It was the first thing Jones set out to prove to his new little protege, his new little man, new little guy, Big Bear, right? Little Bear. Regardless of what they might go through together, Jones wasn't going nowhere. It ain't went nowhere since. I just gave him the family I knew he wanted, Jones said, because I felt like that's what I always wanted growing up. Still, it took time for Bear to adjust though. He pushed me in every way possible, Jones said. It was a battle with this kid. It ain't easy raising a young man, right? As a sophomore at a new high school in Dallas, the fighting only escalated. Suddenly, Jones says there were others in Alexander's ear pulling him in different directions. Then one day, Alexander left the house and didn't come back. He was gone for a week. Nobody knew what Bear was. Then Jones got a call from someone at Skyline High, his new school. Alexander had been in an altercation and was suspended. Jones welcomed Alexander back, but it wasn't so simple at Skyline. The district executive committee ruled that Alexander transferred there for athletic purposes, meaning he was ineligible to play as a sophomore. Jones said staff members at the school was whispering behind his back about his intentions for Bear, whose recruitment as a college prospect was really starting to heat up. They actually ruined my name in the city, honestly, Jones said. They would call me a handler and told people I was his agent. The accusations cut deep, given all Jones had sacrificed in silence. He always tried to be his best. Jones said staff members at the school was whispering behind his back about his intentions for Bear, whose recruitment as a college prospect was really starting to heat up. Right? So he always tried the best to maintain a sense of stability for Alexander and his own two kids. But the truth by that point was he had fallen into deep financial trouble. Jones took an extra job at a call center just to make ends meet. And Bear himself, as a young pup, got a job at Dollar General to help out. But soon the house was in foreclosure. The future for both suddenly felt uncertain. By that Christmas, it wasn't clear where their lives was headed. But the holiday offered some perspective. With the house foreclosure and this and that, they had weathered so much together by that point. For Alexander, it finally seemed to settle in that Jones wasn't going anywhere. He started to open up more to Jones about what he'd been through. With college programs now reaching out regularly, Alexander knew he needed them to understand Jones' unique place in his life. But what should he call him around recruiters? How do you explain what Jones meant without them worrying about his intentions? He decided that day to call me Pops, Jones recalled. The meaning of the label wasn't lost on him. As times passed, Bear stopped trying to explain the unique nature of their relationship, though eventually it didn't feel like he needed to. For him to call me dad at that time, it meant everything, Jones said. It helped me understand that he gets it, but not everyone will be so understanding of that situation. Alexander's talent had always been tantalizing. He was, after all, a nimble-footed 340-pound wrecking ball capable of steamrolling through any double team. As a freshman at Terrell, he was named the district newcomer of the year. You felt like he really could develop in something, said USC coach Lincoln Riley, who first recruited him at Oklahoma. But when Jones met Alexander, the talent didn't match the motivation. You hear me? Football was just a kind of thing he did, Jones said. He wasn't real serious about it. All that changed after Jones pulled him out of Skyline. He started to take complete ownership of the process. Jones said, it stopped being about me waking up to go to work out. He wanted to go to church more. He wanted to do nothing of the he had been doing. That's when everything blew open. Jones got a teaching job at Denton Ryan High School. And so Bear, with a renewed sense of purpose, followed and joined one of the state's top football programs. They drove an hour and a half each way to get to Denton. The long drive only bringing them closer over that course of the year. You start to talk to each other, act like each other, do everything together, Bear said. But once again, the district governing body didn't approve of the arrangement, holding Bear out of games until they could determine whether he was eligible. It didn't matter that Jones worked at Ryan or that Bear's relationship with his biological parents was strained. The committee saw a top prospect transferring to his third school in 3 years with a man who wasn't technically his father. I'm not Bear's biological dad, but he sees me as such, and I see him as no different, Jones said. But the state of Texas frowned upon our relationship. Even though they won't ever come out and say it, that's definitely what it was. Coaches Ryan had no trouble seeing what Jones meant to him. Dave Hennigan, Ryan's head coach at the time, spoke at a hearing on his behalf. His mother wrote an affidavit to the committee explaining their relationship. He needed someone he could count on, someone to give him guidance. And Tony was that guy for him, said Aaron De La Torre, Denton's Ryan defensive coordinator. By the time Alexander was finally ruled eligible as a junior, he hadn't played for nearly 2 calendar years. His late arrival, though, would help lead Denton Ryan to that state championship. It was super frustrating just knowing that people were attacking the situation, Bear said. The constant fight with the district over eligibility triggered painful memories for Jones. You hear me? Year before he met Bear, he had taken in Tadrian Young, who, like Alexander, had come to him in search of guidance. Jones said he was 21 and barely left Young's side, trying to offer stability. For a while, Young seemed on the right track. Then, as a senior, he was ruled ineligible to play football by the University Interscholastic League of Texas, the same governing body that would later christen Bear. Young decided to move home, and Jones was worried about him. He wanted to go back and play ball, Jones said. Within a year, that kid was dead. Young's shooting death in 2016 shook Jones to his core. Talking about it still bring tears to his eyes, he told himself from then on that he would never let a kid go back to what he knew was a bad situation. Rest in peace, Tadrian Young. These kids need a different type of understanding, a different type of love sometimes, Jones said. I don't think we should compromise their athletic future to make a point. Bear's future looked especially bright after Denton Ryan state title run. He had a scholarship offership to Georgia in hand, so he pushed Jones to make his own plans and promised he would follow. Jones would get a job at Brewer High in Fort Worth, most closer to home. And for the third time in 4 years, the UIL ruled Alexander ineligible. This time, though, he didn't raid around at Brewer. Alexander transferred to IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida, his 5th school in 4 years, and finished out his tumultuous high school run. And for the third time in 4 years, the NIL, So that was his 5th school in 4 years, and that finished his run. He said, Jones, the game get dirty, bro. It's hard trying to love on a kid purely and keep away from the BS. In Athens, Georgia, there was no such doubts awaiting Bear. No one in the SEC cared about his bloodlines. He played in 12 games for the eventual national champions and notched a sack in the title game. Jones had a very specific expectation of where Bear's trajectory should take him as a sophomore at Georgia. Jones said he was assured by Georgia staff of the major role Alexander would play this season. But when he wasn't the clear-cut starter at defensive tackle in spring, Jones felt betrayed. If I can't trust you with what you say, I'm out, Jones said. And that's what it got to at Georgia. Alexander entered the NCAA transfer portal and ended up at USC. Riley had recruited Alexander while he was coaching at Oklahoma at one point, even convincing him to secretly commit to the Sooners. But Jones said he worried at the time that Riley might leave Norman for the NFL. Riley didn't have to do much convincing this time with Bear or Jones. It was really much of a thought, Bear said early this month. It was a relationship that had already been developed. It picked up quickly. Right? So then Bear spent his 2 seasons at USC. Right? And this following season, in the spring, his name, or it was rumored, allegedly, that he was hopping in the transfer portal. But later was recanted and he stayed at USC based upon the agreement had made. Negotiation to the terms had been met. See, it was reports about some promises wasn't kept and something was agreed upon, and the Trojans made it right. Now we fast forward to this point where something goes off on Twitter and ignites Mr. Tony Jones and lead us to this point where Bear's gonna redshirt and find himself on another team. So as we follow this Bear timeline in Saga, it seems pretty clear to me that Tony Jones is the captain of this bus. Tony Jones is the captain of that ship. And wherever Tony Jones go, Bear gonna go. Right? So the important thing to learn in this saga, whatever university is blessed with the talents of Bear Alexander, they better make sure Mr. Jones is happy. Because if Mr. Jones ain't happy, Bear ain't gonna be happy. And Mr. Jones is packing and rolling out, then Bear is packing and rolling out. See, y'all seen when Jones said, if you lied to me, I'm out of here. That lets you know he has full control in decision for Bear playing career. Bear look up to this man as Pops. Bear trust this man. He was there for Bear when Bear had nobody. He provided stability and leadership and mentorship and a father figure to Bear when nobody was there or probably even cared. This man was there for Bear when most people didn't even care. So Bear trusts this man, right or wrong. Bear is gonna ride with this man, right or wrong. Right? So this is the Bear timeline saga. As it continues, I will keep track on this young man's career. It'll be very interesting to see how it plays out from here. But until then, man, it's your boy Carter Sports. It's Trojan City. It's USC. So let's go.